Let me tell you now the background, a real worry too, that's behind the Prime Minister's big announcement today, a promise to spend $800 million more over the next decade on the Antarctic. And not just for science, but for drones, for snow vehicles and helicopters.
We are a treaty nation when it comes to Antarctica, and we take those responsibilities incredibly seriously. Now, not everybody respects those obligations and those stewardship responsibilities. So this gives us eyes on Antarctica.
The background. Antarctica is huge. It's twice the size of Australia, and it's not all ice and penguins and scenery. Under that ice lie huge deposits of oil and gas and coal and who knows what minerals. Australia's laid claim to more than 40% of that huge continent and its assets, although we've backed an international treaty that says that no one can actually go mining there or drilling for oil or gas or whatever. And China says the same, it doesn't want that too, But as you know, China tends to lie like Russia. Maybe you've noticed. What's more, dictator Xi Jinping has issued guidance for his officials that Antarctica is really there for China, among others, to understand, protect, and use. To use. But how? China right now is building its 5th base in Antarctica, 4 of them in Australian territory, 3 deep inland. And no one really knows what some of them are doing there. Are these bases just for scientific research? Is China perhaps using any of them illegally for military intelligence? There are claims, for instance, that China used one to research submarine routes. Could it be looking for mineral deposits? Or is China building more and more bases so that it can eventually say, well, look, here you can see China is using this vast continent more than Australia is. So how come Australia owns 42% of it and that's nothing? Time to redraw the boundaries and give China a slice. And as they say, use it or lose it, and we could lose it. For now, though, it seems the Morrison government just wants to have more ability to check what China is up to down there. Joining me is Don Rothwell. He's a Professor of International Law at the Australian National University and has looked at the law as it applies to Antarctica. Professor Rothwell, thank you so much for your time. What do you think China is up to in Antarctica?
Well, we know, Andrew, that China has been a party to the Antarctic Treaty now since the 1980s. It's a consultative party, which means that it's in the select decision-making group in terms of the future of Antarctica. It's got an ability to make Antarctic law. But as you outlined, the extent of its research bases in Antarctica have considerably expanded in recent years. And you're right, that there is a significant level of ambiguity about what exactly China's intentions are in Antarctica.
Can I ask you whether you think this is part of a ploy for China to force through, or to at least keep arguing for, a change in how Antarctica is drawn up, or a change in treaties limiting what people can actually do down there?
Well, certainly at one level, as I said, China's part of the Antarctic Club. It's a key member of the Antarctic Club. It's not a claimant state in Antarctica like Australia, but it does have a say. And indeed, much of the Antarctic Treaty system is framed around consensus. And that means inevitably getting agreement from all of the relevant key parties. And we've seen examples over the last decade where China has blocked some environmental protection initiatives in Antarctica. But I think at the moment we can say that the status quo pretty much remains, but there is a lot of expectation and anticipation as to what might happen in 2048. And that is a date when potentially the prohibition on mining in Antarctica could come up for revision.
And as we know, China thinks very, very long term, thinks in terms and plans in terms of decades, multiple decades. I have no doubt that 48 is very close in its planning and in its eye. What do you think Australia should be doing about it if we really care about stopping mining or drilling for gas and oil? Or maybe we should be thinking we'd have some of that too. I don't know. But what do you think we should be doing?
Well, Australia's always said that the key pillars of its Antarctic policy are to ensure the recognition of Australian sovereignty over the Australian Antarctic Territory, which, as you said, comprises 42% of the Antarctic continent, support Antarctic science, and the announcement today certainly does that, but also continue to support and bolster the Antarctic Treaty. So those have been the three key pillars of Australia's Antarctic policy now for 60-odd years. And today's announcement is really just a continuation of that. Most importantly, though, the announcement today doesn't really expand the Australian physical footprint in Antarctica. There's no grand announcement about a new base in Antarctica, but rather it significantly enhances and increases Australia's capability in Antarctica. And your listeners and viewers will be aware that last year, of course, Australia acquired a new icebreaker, and that significantly increased Australia's capability. So this announcement today will just continue that capability enhancement over the course of the next decade.
Well, I just do think with China, like I say, use it or lose it, because China's definitely got its eye on something down there. Professor Don Rothwell, thank you so much indeed for your time.